Okay, 1 month later, we're back at it. I'm just plopped on my couch here. Corstian, you're back in your lovely state of Utah. It's been a long time coming, but finally, after all the conflicts and all the religious holidays and stuff like that, we finally got a chance to meet. So, welcome back, everybody. Been a wild, wild season since the Super Bowl recap. Um, really happy as a Bears fan with the moves they've made. We can talk about that later. Free agency is up and running. I remember leading up to this, a lot of like executives were like, free agency is going to be a down year this year.
hmm
And I think with all the deals, this might be literally the most exciting part, like after the Super Bowl.
hmm
So, yeah, I love what I'm seeing. We hope you guys have been having a great off season. Um, sucks that we don't have football for another 6, 7 months, but it's okay because you got fascinating deals that let you see how good your team is on paper. So, how have you been, Corson? It's been a fat minute.
yeah, been good. It's kind of doing whatever. But yeah, I've been enjoying free agency. Um, Broncos, I also believe, are having a really nice free agency. I'm happy with a handful of the signings that they've done so far. Other teams, like a lot of, I think what's helped add to the fun of free agency in the alleged down year is just the fact that we've seen so many trades go down as well. Because I don't feel like maybe every year there's this many trades, but like just maybe the names that are getting thrown around within these trades is kind of like not like surprising, but like not surprising, but like still exciting. Like the fact that like CJ Gardner Johnson's kind of a barely a trade that I can even remember, going on this offseason. Whereas I feel like a year or two, if we saw a trade with CJ Gardner Johnson, it's be like, oh, breaking news, one of the premier defensive players got traded, but like that's kind of like a nothing burger this season. So it's kind of fun
I
that
do
way.
have breaking news for you, actually. This happened 10 minutes ago. The
hmm
Seahawks just signed DeMarcus Lawrence to a 3-year contract.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Huh.
he's getting about 42 million, 18 million guaranteed. I don't think it changes my top three. We'll go through our top three favorite signings, but that's a key move. They're
Yep.
like the Seahawks have gone through a lot of recent changes. So without further ado, we'll just give our top three, starting from three, going down to one. Of course, I will give his three. I will give my three, like one after the other. So with that said, Corsian, who do you got at number three?
My number three is Joey Bosa signing with the Bills. um, it's a scary one, I think, for the Bill. Like it's a high risk, high reward kind of signing, which I think kind of makes it exciting. Obviously, his past couple seasons, he hasn't been able to stay fully healthy, but it's like when he is healthy, he is able to be a game wrecker. And I feel as if, like the past couple seasons, the Bills have had like okay rotational guys, but like it felt like Von Miller, an aging Von Miller, that is, was kind of like their best rotational guy at times, which obviously isn't what you want. I mean, I know they have younger guys that were having their moments too, but it felt like pass rush specifically on that Bills defense was a big hindrance to them, especially in the playoffs, I feel. And so, having him and, especially if he can stay healthy throughout the playoffs, I think will be a huge win for them and can maybe help them get closer over that hump to get into the Super Bowl next season.
I agree. The only thing to worry about with Bosa is the injuries. He's missed over 23 games
hmm
past 3 seasons. Um, and despite that, he's had 14 sacks across those seasons. So considering that, that's pretty impressive. Plus,
hmm
it's a 1-year deal. But I think an aging Von Miller, again, Joey Bosa being 30, I consider that the prime of his career. I don't think he's too old yet. Um, this is the exact perfect move they need to do and need to make because they have a great rotation, but
hmm
that's what they are, great rotational players. They're not like a
hmm
standout pass rush. And now
Yeah.
they kind of get a younger version of what Von Miller did.
hmm
And so I'm hoping this will be a great move for them. I think that's a great, fantastic selection.
hmm
Um, for me, my third favorite signing is Davante Adams to the Los Angeles Rams. I thought this was a very, very sly move on their part. Obviously, I hope Cooper Cup was still on that team,
hmm
but um, as of now, they don't plan on like doing that per se. Devontae Adams still a key contributor, still can be a number one option. He doesn't have to be. great time route runner. He's going to work great with Stafford. Just gives the Rams a different type of player than what they've had. They
Mhm.
never really had that kind of like possession X receiver. So
Mhm.
definitely, definitely a veteran. Definitely one of the best receivers in the past decade.
Mhm.
Um, and the deal itself is pretty valuable for the Rams because it's 26 million guaranteed. That's very
Mhm.
low for a 2-year deal. Um, and even though he's getting paid at 23 million average salary, that's
Mhm.
I think for 2 years that's a good deal to get with Adams because I think he can hold up at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good move for them. Um, in a way, it is, and it isn't a lateral move from Cooper Cup. Like, obviously, they're both really good at what they do, but obviously, Davante Adams' benefit is he's been healthier the past couple seasons compared to Cooper Cup, which I think is a big part of what I think the Rams were looking for in terms of an elite receiver going into this offseason and why they were a little bit more okay to part ways with Cooper Cup. Because it's like, sure, Cooper Cup, when he's on the field, he is elite. But you look at the last two seasons where he's gotten like just about 700 receiving yards versus Davante Adams getting 1,000 plus the past 2 years. And you look at what happened last season to it. He switches teams mid-season, and those two teams being the Raiders and the Jets, and he still, puts up the numbers that he does. Kind of shows the caliber of receiver that he still is. And so, yeah, I really like that signing for the Rams as well.
Sweet. Okay, who do you have number two after Joey
Okay,
Bosa?
my number two guy. Here I put Dre Greenlaw to the Denver Broncos. Feel like I liked. They had a lot of good signings. I'm a huge fan of Talano Hufanga, and I like Evan Ingram, but I feel like um, middle linebacker has been a stark weakness for the Broncos for the past like 5+ years, probably like 6, 7+ years. And so um, getting an established guy who is one of the better off-ball linebackers in the league to kind of just help command your defense, I think will be a huge boost because like obviously like PJ Locke wasn't great at he was all right at safety and he was the cause of a couple missed like or blown coverages, but it's like he was still serviceable. I mean, technically Broncos have probably one of the worst tight end rooms in the league last season, so obviously Evan Ingram's a huge plus. But you get a guy, Dre Greenlaw, who is, I feel like, in his prime still, um, to kind of command the defense, and so that's why I had him at my number two spot over some of these other guys.
Yeah, no, that's a great selection. Yeah, Broncos really upgraded in the middle there, and they've had some positive pieces in their front seven with Nick Bonito
Mm-hmm.
and Jonathan Cooper and Zach Allen. Like they've had some positive pieces, but like a commandeer on the middle of their defense makes their defense that much better. Don't
Mm-hmm.
really have many weaknesses outside of that. I
Mm-hmm.
thought this was a fantastic selection, and I love the free agency targets they've had, especially with Evan Ingram gives them the best tight end they've had in a while.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no concerns there. I agree.
Yeah.
That was a great move for them.
Yeah, because if you look at like the Broncos, I feel like Cody Barton last season was probably one of the best off-ball linebacker seasons for the Broncos in quite a while, and he only got signed to a 3-year, $21 million deal to the Titans, I believe. And so it's like the Broncos' best linebacker again in like the past 8 years or so is getting a 3-year, $21 million deal. Kind of says a lot about the caliber of Broncos linebackers.
What did you
Uh,
think about the Justin Strnad deal that happened?
I think he's an okay linebacker, 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking like Alex Singleton comes back from injury and he's kind of just like a tackle monster, I guess, where he's not that great in coverage, but he's a sure tackler. So if he's back healthy next season, you have Dre Greenlaw as your kind of lead Mike. Then you have Sternad. He's not great, but I mean for that cheap of a contract and being like a linebacker 3 or 4, I'm not just kind of just whatever to me.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So my number two is actually one player that's already been discussed. Joey Bosa to the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
I also thought it was a fantastic selection for them. They needed like a top tier pass rusher like this, considering the threat that the Ravens and the Chiefs pose in that conference, along with the Bengals, if they could ever start off well. Um, so Joey Bosa, I think, is a definite upgrade. I think it elevates the ceiling of the Bills defense. right up there with the Chiefs. You get a guy that can finish as a pass rusher. So, yeah, not too much to add on that. I think it was a very savvy signing. Man, you gotta excuse me. My sore throat is on its last day, and I'm exercising to the fullest. But I thought it was a very savvy signing. So,
Mhm.
great job by the Bills
Yeah, agree.
here. Good. Who stands alone at the mountaintop then?
um, yeah, I don't know if other people would consider this the best signing, but this is one I really liked, and this was Grady Jarrett to the Chicago Bears. um, he's been, at least in my head, he's been one of the better defensive tackles in the league, pretty much the entirety of his career. Uh, and I think he establishes and sets the tone for a really strong front seven for the Chicago Bears going into this next upcoming season. Especially, they might draft another or a pass rusher. I know they signed Deo Odeyingbo or whatever from the Colts. He 2023, I think he had 8 sacks. Last season he had 3 sacks, so he's kind of whatever. But he's like only 25 years old. But I think Grady Jarrett's the kind of player that like offensive lines will have to key in onto, which opens up, room for kind of these developing pass rushers to get better and kind of establish themselves. And so it's like, while he's not the flashiest player probably on this Bears defense, he'll have like the greatest impact for this Bears team, especially a Bears team that I think can be a playoff contender going into next season, especially with just the other signs they had on the opposite side or the other side of the field.
I was so happy when you mentioned that. I've been so happy with what the Bears have done on both
Mm-hmm.
sides of the ball. Remember, right before the season started last year, I lamented their lack of personnel on the offensive and defensive lines and how that would be key for them to get any sort of traction. And it
Mm-hmm.
turned out to be the big weakness over this entire season. So to see them address it like this relentlessly and like looking at the top tier talent and looking at the Chiefs cap situation, being like, okay, they're struggling to figure out a contract deal for Trey Smith. They're not going to be able to afford Joe Teamy. Get him on a trade before he hits free agency. Do the same thing with Jonah Jackson, a guy who's played in Ben Johnson's system. To get those two just before the start of free agency was huge. If you look at the deals done for like Aaron Banks and like Will Fries, massive overpays by their division rivals. But and then you go and get the top center in the market on top of that,
Mm-hmm.
Drew Dahlman, and you address the defensive players you said here. I the Bears line looks night and day on both sides of the ball. I don't want them to stop here.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, if you learn from the Eagles, build it to 8, 9, 10 people deep because you're going to need them as the season goes along. It'll take one twisted ankle to ruin an entire season
Mm-hmm.
if you're just counting on your front four and front five to remain healthy the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but this is a start. This is a start. And I think for the first time in a long time, the Bears are not going into the season expecting a rookie to come in and start for them, which is
Mm-hmm.
huge. We were not at this point in the last 7 years. And to be in the spot is a really great sign. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was nice to see them invest in the trenches so much this offseason. Like you said, with the offensive lineman. Like Drew Dahlman, isn't he like the second or third highest paid center in the league at this point now? Like, I
I
think
think he's
that's
the
like
highest after this deal.
he is the highest, because I know it was like
Yeah.
he's like a top 3 paid center in the league right now.
He's on the thing with him is he's really good at zone blocking.
Mm-hmm.
And you got two guys with Jonah Jackson and Joe Tooney who play well in the guard spots.
Mm-hmm.
And they're great at pin and pulls and stuff. So now they can actually run multiple run concepts that involve like guard or center pulls, where the Bears try to run it, but like they would
Mm-hmm.
never get anywhere. Like the famous play I'll see is like that fourth down play where Caleb Williams lost like 8 yards. Like it's just
Mm-hmm.
real. It was just a really bad script to play, but like the offensive line didn't help matters at all. That's not gonna happen when you got Joe Tooney,
Mm-hmm.
who played under Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes back to back.
Mm-hmm.
And Jonah
Yeah.
Jackson had a phenomenal 2023 season.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited about all their moves, but the Grady Jarrett one might be the biggest one because it gives us our best interior defensive lineman since Akeem Hicks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so like I have Bears as a potential candidate to go and draft Ashton Genty, just with like the moves that they made this offseason. I think I'd like that. I mean, I know this is a month away at this point. But I remember I saw these moves. I'm like, honestly, imagine Ashton Genty behind this offensive line with a second-year Caleb Williams. I think that'd be an insane team to have to
Yeah.
go against going into the next season. The one scare I have, I mean, this is more draft talk, but the one thing that's like scary-ish to me is like I wouldn't be surprised to see the Raiders take Ashton Genty, but I feel like that's probably my biggest fear of a team picking Genty against or ahead of the Bears. But other than that, I think Bears are in a great landing spot to get a guy with that talent caliber.
I'm not too worried what they do in the draft, to be honest, because the way Ryan Poles has attacked this free agency and before then has allowed them to go in any direction. So even if the Raiders pick him, I'm not too worried.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, this running back class is so deep
Mm-hmm.
that even if GT goes, I'm not sure he's the best player in his draft class,
Mm-hmm.
the running back spot. And I know that's outlandish given the season he's had, but if you watch some tape on some of the guys like Mario Hampton and
Mm-hmm.
like the TCU guy that I can't remember his name of, man, see what's his name? I think it's DJ Gibbons, like,
Mm-hmm.
and a handful of others, maybe Cam Scatterboo, if you want to be like going insane. Like, there's a lot of even the Ohio State guy, Quinshon Judkins. Like, there's at least 3 or 4 guys I can name that would be an upgrade in the Bears system, and then that they can get in the top 100.
Yeah.
So even if they can't get GT and they invest in the offensive line and defensive linemen, I would be ecstatic with it because that's where Ryan Poles has set it up, where like he can go in any which direction. So obviously, I agree. I want GT at number 10, given the moves they made in this free agency. If they didn't have to make these moves, I'd be like, absolutely not, don't do it. But they can afford to make a move like this, given the year that Saquon's had and the way they built this roster. So that's off to Ryan Poles.
Yeah, because like I think both of the Bears and the Broncos, like with how free agency's gone, they've honestly put themselves in a pretty good spot to like draft best player available at their picks. Where it's like, sure, there's guys that I think we both prefer to have, like Tyler Warren. I think even with the Evan Ingram signing, I'd like a Tyler Warren draft pick, but like, but like, yeah, they're both in situations where if they're the guy that they were hoping for isn't there, they could really easily just pick best player available, put him in, and reap the rewards of just getting whoever they think is the best player available next.
Agreed. Yep. Okay, my number one guy, division rival. Absolutely love this move. For the value they got out of him. Didn't really necessarily like that they got him. But it's Jonathan Allen to the Minnesota Vikings. This guy, 4 years older than me, drafted 2017 to the Washington Commanders, the last player in a standalone monstrous defensive lineman like rotation that included Chase Young himself. Then you got who's not Chase Young, Montez Sweat, and then you got the other guy, Deron Payne.
Yeah.
Absolutely monstrous lineup. He ends up going to the Minnesota Vikings. Great ideal spot. That was probably the one weakness the Vikings had all season, where their back seven was just insane. Linebackers insane, but their pass rush was a little bit of a weakness spot. Now you got a guy that can put pressure and wreak havoc from the interior. Scary sign for the rest of the NFC North that this move happened. So, without a doubt, I have to say this is a great move by the Vikings.
Yeah, Vikings. I think that was a good move. I know there's talks about like amongst Broncos fans of like wanting Jonathan Allen. Just because it'd be funny to have Zach Allen and Jonathan Allen squared on the D line. But yeah, he like his I guess main weakness is just run stop ability. But like you're getting an elite interior pass rusher with this signing, which obviously is I think opens up your defensive playbook a lot more than just like a pure block eater, I guess. But even then, they still got like Javon Hargrave, and so they really invested in like the trenches here too. Because I mean, even looking on the offensive side of the, where it's like Will Fries and Ryan Kelly are getting were offensive lineman signings that they did, and so
and Javon Hargrave, completely forgot to mention him.
Yeah. And so
Like
it's
what
like
this allows them to do is like now like Brian Flores doesn't have to use like linebackers and edge players on the interior for passing down. They have their two pass rushers on the inside.
Yeah, and so those blitz plays with guys, those linebackers is just like an extra bonus in terms of how setting up like a kind of like with the Grady Jarrett. It just kind of opens up your defensive playbook on what you're able to do and how you're able to move guys around without just being as obvious, and you can do a lot more disguise blitzes and coverages, I think.
100%. Okay. Yeah, so those were our top three. Hope you guys liked them. We have some other deals that we wanted to get through as far as like the trades and like other free agency deals. Just off the top of my head, just already mentioned it with the Joe Tooney and Jonah Jackson moves. Bears absolutely knocked it out of the park. They read the market, they did their homework, and they beat the competition to these good quality guards based on what other teams have had to make. So well done, Ryan Poles. I give them an A+ for that as far as trade deals. As far as like other ones, not any that stands out to me. Probably CJ DJ, or CJ GJ to the Texans. Great move. Laramie Tunsil to the Commanders. That was an absolute snipe. Crazy move by Adam Peters. Well done by him. Those are a couple trades that stand out to me.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Laramie Tunsil. The Commanders getting him. Not a huge fan of the Texans giving him up. Considering like
he was the one guy they had.
He was their best O-line. Was the best protector for CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud is going to hate his offensive line this upcoming season unless they draft ridiculous guys that have insane high ceilings or whatever. But yeah, Laramie Tunsil to Commanders I thought was really good. Obviously, your Bears offensive linemen I liked. I thought Raiders getting Geno Smith was an underrated move. Acquiring him for a third-round pick, I think is solid because you have playmakers, and so it's like you're able to stay competitive in games with Geno Smith, and then like obviously I think like people thought Geno Smith had a down year last season, but if you look at like the O line of the Seahawks O line sucks really bad, and like he was able to be evasive, move around the pocket to kind of help mitigate some of those O line weaknesses, and now he's going to the Raiders where I think he's going to be able to elevate a lot of the players there. Plus, he already has Bowers there who's going to do his thing, So I think that, especially just for a third round investment, and like he plays a couple seasons. If you don't like him, then there'll be better quarterback draft classes in the next year or two. And then what else did I like? I liked DK Metcalf to the Steelers. I thought that was kind of fun.
Insane deal he got. That was amazing. Myles Garrett too. $40 million a year. Holy crap. That was
Yeah, but I hope the Steelers don't trade away George Pickens, because I'd actually tune into more Steelers games just to see DK and George Pickens like fight people.
They probably pick fights on back-to-back like possessions.
Right. So I think that's funny. Another kind of funny deal that I thought was funny there's a couple. A lot of receivers got overpaid this offseason, like Josh Palmer, crazy deal. Tutu Atwell getting a 1-year, $10 million contract blew my mind. But what I thought was really funny was the Giants offering Darius Slayton a 3-year, $36 million deal. Considering the fact that they offered Saquon a 3-year, $33 million deal last season. So they offered Darius Slayton more money than they did Saquon Barkley last offseason.
They literally should make Joe Shane's son run the team.
Like, it's Giants. Like, apparently, like, there were free agents that weren't even, like, willing to go to the Giants to, like, talk about a contract because they didn't like your boy Joe. So, like...
What did Javon Holland do? Why did he sign with them? That was so confusing.
Yeah, dude, let me find that deal again. I mean, 3-year, $45 million with $30 million guaranteed. If I'm a safety,
you don't want to pay Saquon that. Oh my, wow.
Yeah. The thing is, though, I do like the Javon Holland signing, and I do like Paulson Adebo.
No, it's just the fact that they're getting just a little bit over them what you would have to pay Saquon.
Right. Like, I mean, they're good signings, but yeah, again, literally, I mean, I'm grateful that Saquon ended up not re-signing with the Giants because we got to see him have the Super Bowl run with the Eagles, and I'm happy for him in that end. But Dude, if I was a Giants fan, I'd cry.
I'd be in internal pain.
Yeah.
Um, Debo to the Commanders. That was a very nice move.
Mm-hmm.
That's one that stands out to me too. I forgot
Mm-hmm.
to mention that. I think that's going to be really good for Jaden Daniels. He won't have to do so much with his legs.
Mm-hmm.
Like every time he has a guy underneath that can win. Complements Terry McLaurin really, really well.
Uh-huh.
And De'Ami Brown as well. So
Well, did
nice
did
job by the
Diami
Commanders.
stay?
Did he?
He signed a 1 year to the Jags.
Okay, never mind. Yeah, okay, interesting move. Jaguars. Okay.
Yeah.
You trade Christian Kirk and you replace him with De'Ami Brown. Okay, very
Yeah.
interesting.
They're paying him $10 million this year.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, one good year. Okay.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. Um, that was a good move. And then the Eagles, very interestingly, they traded Kenyon Green, former first round pick, struggled a lot this season with the Texans.
Mm-hmm.
They're making another bet similar to Mekhi Becton last season that they
Mm-hmm.
can turn this project into like a really great guard. I'm interested to see what
Mm-hmm.
comes out of that, um, especially since he's going to Jeff Stoutland, the best O-line coach in the league. So yeah, that's something that stands out to me as well. I also found the Max Crosby signing interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very curious to see how Geno Smith and Max Crosby play on both sides of the ball for the Raiders. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to be a very tough division still. They got a lot. Even Najee Harris, the Chargers. I thought that was a great, great move.
Mm-hmm.
Classy location. I think I would buy a Najee stock right now, the Chargers,
Mm-hmm.
because that's a great. They're going to commit to running the ball. He's great at doing it. I just don't think he got a lot of opportunities on the Steelers because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people thought Jalen Warren is better than him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he'll get used a ton in Los Angeles, and I think he'll find some more success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. What do you feel about Justin Fields to the Jets?
It's an interesting move. I kind of like it. You got a lot of talent around him with Brees and
Uh,
Garrett Wilson. It's a massive bet by Aaron Glenn though. Now
uh-huh.
it's just like, okay, you don't want to run it back with Rodgers. You got to go with Justin Fields.
Uh-huh.
If this doesn't work, what's next? Like what's next? I really don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Yeah.
have confidence. I have confidence Justin can get it done. He's definitely going to make the offense a little bit more consistent
Mm-hmm.
than what a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers can do.
Yeah. And then Justin Fields, he's gonna like honestly, him back with the connection with Garrett Wilson, I think will be really nice to see. As college buddies that they were. But yeah, and I like, at least from the Jets side, it's like a nice 2 year prove it deal. I mean, it's obviously a lot of money because it's a quarterback, but it's a nice 2 year prove it deal where you have Justin Fields this season. It's like, can he win us football games? And if he can't, they likely draft a quarterback pretty high next season, and then they have Justin Fields, I guess, play out his second season until they think their quarterback's ready. Is kind of my perception of how the Jets went with this move. But yeah,
What do you think about Daniel Jones to the Colts?
I think it's fine. I think
I had the same reaction. I'm like, who cares? Who cares?
yeah. I mean, there's like a halfway decent shot he starts 4 games this upcoming season. Like if you look at his stats compared to Anthony Richardson's, like they're decently the same. I think Jones has a better passer rating, but like Richardson has a better touchdown interception ratio coming between this season and last season between the two of them. So it's like kind of whatever, I guess. I think this is a smart move for Daniel Jones though, because it's like a spot. I think a lot of people expect him to at least play a little bit during the course of the season, and if he plays at least halfway decent, then that guarantees him probably another year where he can get a contract, and maybe play football somewhere else on a more long-term backup deal until maybe he can have a Geno Smith type resurgence of a career where a lot of quarterbacks have, as of late, have had a later in their life resurgence, like Geno, Baker, Sam Darnold even. But yeah.
I wonder What do you think about what the Vikings? Are you all in on JJ McCarthy this season
I
based
mean,
on what
like,
they've shown?
it's hard to say just because we have no idea how far along he is in his recovery, plus just like how familiar he is with the play. But so there's a lot. It's a big unknown. But they also spent a really high draft pick for him, so like you kind of got to be. But also they have a really good team, a really good supporting cast for him, anyways. Especially they got two good O linemen up here. Aaron Jones re-signing, I think, was a good move for them. Or just a consistent veteran running back presence. Obviously, Justin Jefferson is there, so like JJ McCarthy really can just throw it to Jefferson and it'll probably be fine. And then even Addison is a solid number 2. So like
And you
they have
got
all the
Hawkinson
pieces,
too.
Hawkinson,
Yeah.
so I mean, if he sucks for the Vikings, but I mean you kind of have to go all in.
Yeah, I mean, they let go of Darnold too. They didn't make a concerted effort to sign Jones back again. I think this is them telling us they think Jay McCarthy has a higher ceiling than both.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Maybe Aaron Rodgers pulls a Brett Favre part 2 and goes to them and like is null and void. So we'll see.
Mhm.
But I thought that was very interesting as I saw the Darnold deal and like Daniel Jones signing. I'm like, the Vikings wouldn't hold on to one of these guys.
Yeah. But we'll see. It'll be interesting. It'll be exciting to see McCarthy. I felt so about him going into the draft. I didn't really want the Broncos to get him. But
I just
he was
feel
still drafted in the
that he
first.
couldn't even play a game. Like
Mhm.
that sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see. I feel it's hard to say preseason will be telling because like 3 years ago, I think everybody thought Kenny Pickett might like actually develop during the preseason after that like really good run he had, but like the season happened.
Now he's the starter of the Browns.
Yeah. Oh, do you see the Browns had Russell Wilson come in today to talk about a contract?
What the heck?
Dude, what a crazy QB room that would be. Watson, Russell Wilson, Kenny Pickett.
2 of my favorite QBs in one room once upon a time before it all went down. What a crazy trajectory for Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Both similar player types, and like they end up in completely different careers. And it's,
hmm Yeah. And then it'll be interesting to see how Pittsburgh goes as a quarterback. I actually think Rodgers should sign with Pittsburgh. I think that's my favorite landing spot for Aaron Rodgers because, like, I think he plays Pittsburgh for a year and then just retires would be like the ideal situation for him because he goes to Pittsburgh, most likely will make the playoffs, just knowing how the Steelers are able to operate.
right.
So then he ends his career at least making the playoffs instead of
Making
signing.
the playoffs on paper.
Mhm. Yeah, because I mean, like, what if he re-signed with the Jets and they sucked again with him? Like, and he's not getting better. He retires as a Jet who did not do well, which I don't think he'd want to have. Whereas, like the Steelers, they're a good enough team. They have weapons, that he can take advantage of. That I think ends up he's in the playoffs. Kind of a nice send off, I guess, in one way or another. But yeah, that's my take with Aaron Rodgers.
Absolutely. Well, it remains to be seen whether he pulls a Brett Favre or goes back to the Steel City. So we shall see what happens.
We shall.
Keep us posted on like some new deals. I don't think any new things have come up since that DeMarcus Lawrence signing, but
Yeah, I haven't
really
seen.
exciting time of the year. But until then, you guys keep it easy. Follow us on our Mon Mission page on Instagram, mon.a.mission down below. Our YouTube channel, Amon Mission on YouTube, where you can see our full length videos. And we'll see you next week. And hopefully my voice is 10 times better than this. So
Yes, sir. Well, peace.
peace. Indeed.